All right, the recording has started.
All right. I'll call the meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Kerr.
Present.
Councilmember Parmet. Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Thisted. Present. Mayor Riley.
Here.
There are 5 members present.
Thank you very much. The first item is the approval of the agenda, and I just want to note as we go into this, the agenda has changed from the original agenda with an addition that the liquor license hearing as part of her role as the liquor board for Ski to Tea has been postponed, rescheduled for the next meeting on the 24th. So if anyone was here specifically for that meeting or that hearing, it won't be tonight, it will be in 2 weeks. So with that, does anyone have any desire to have anything changed on the agenda? Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Now we have an opportunity to receive communications from the public. And if you'd like to speak to us, you may. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And it should not be on any item that's specifically on the agenda.
It should be what?
Not on anything that's specifically on the agenda, like the public hearing. There'll be an opportunity in the public hearing to make a public comment at that point on that specific item. But anything else is fair game. You just make a comment.
You can tell me if it's appropriate or not. Patty Banks, Little Pass Village. So I think you guys are all.
Do you have to turn on push the little button?
Hello.
Here you go.
Patty Banks, Little Pass Village. I think you guys are all doing an amazing job. I thought I'd just make public that we did have a meeting with 11 past people, and I think it's a great turnout. I just really want to thank Valerie, Ken, and John for coming, because that was crucial for making it a good meeting. And I was really happy with all the people that came. I'm starting to look into seeing if the neighborhood wants a neighborhood association. So that's kind of in the works right now. So who knows where that's going to end up. What you guys were talking about on town council people meeting in person, I'm going to speak for myself, Tommy Banks, and Julie Olson. And we all think it's crucial that people are here in person, because what I noticed is we can't see the town council members on the TV unless I'm standing over here. And for me, body language and people in person makes a huge difference for me on kind of understanding what's going on. And third is on any project proposals that are coming in, as I understand it, from planning and zoning, it's how it has been. And I am just personally worried that if people understand that it could change in a year, that people might try to sneak things in. And I hope that any projects come in and can get looked at a higher level. Right now I'm driving by that new building by the lodge, and I'm like, oof. I don't think that's quite in my perception of things to come. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other comments? Is there anyone online? No one online? All right. In that case, I'll declare the communications to council portion closed. And then we move to the consent agenda, which has on it the minutes of the August 27th meeting, and no other items on the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Councilmember Davis.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried by a vote of 5-0. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of ordinances, the second reading of ordinance of 2024-0-09, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, amending the Town Liquor Code and ordinance. I'll now declare the public hearing open. And the basic procedures for that will be, we'll first hear from the town staff on the ordinance, and then we'll open it to the public for public comment. And that public comment, again, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And then the council will be able to, well, the council will have an opportunity to ask questions on the staff presentation. And then we will adjourn that public hearing and then go into a discussion and deliberation on the item, on the specific ordinance. So with that, would the town manager please give us a appropriate introduction into the proposed ordinance and the changes?
Yes, we will be passing this on to our town attorney, Jennifer Manson, and our town clerk, Maddie Seymour.
All right, thank you, Mayor, members of the Town Council. This evening, we've got ordinance 2024-0-09 before you for approval. When we originally brought the Town Liquor Code in ordinance 2024-0-03, we included the process for optional premise licenses, but there are additional types of optional premises that might be included in the liquor code, including optional premise permits, which are associated with hotel and restaurant licenses. So because there are some existing optional premise permits that are in the town of Keystone attached to these food and hotel and restaurant licenses, in order for these to continue to exist, the town would need to add optional premise permits into the town liquor code. Additionally, the other change is in the processing of special event permits. A local licensing authority can either approve these special event permits on their own or send them on to the state licensing authority for approval or disapproval of an application. Due to the timing of special event permits, these are typically turned in. They must be turned in at least 30 days in advance, and typically these can be turned in exactly 30 days in advance. So with the posting requirements in addition to this, this can lead to some logistical challenges if we are needing to wait an additional 10 days after the local licensing authority's approval. So those are the primary changes, and if there are any questions, I am happy to answer.
Do any council members have any questions or changes or questions?
Just a question.
Sullivan.
Maybe, I don't know if I turn this to, but what's the downside of doing this? It sounds like this is just allowing them to have their special purpose, drinking. And if we don't do this, this would shut down some of the events, I guess, in the town. Is that correct?
So for there's two different issues, one with the optional premise permits. So there's, for example, some optional premise permits that are included on the IGAs for this evening's meeting related to the golf course. So if we weren't allowed to have optional premise permits within the town, that could prohibit some of those additional areas associated with the River Course Grill from being able to exist with alcohol.
Okay.
Or they would have to get a separate license for those two things.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Carol? Councilmember Kerr?
This is, hi, I noticed in this write-up that the optional premises ordinance requires that a vendor that does not own the space submit written approval by the property owner for the liquor sales. Is that true for all liquor licenses as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Then, given that, at this point, I'd like to close the public hearing, and we will then.
Point of information,
Yes.
need to allow public comments.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Is there any public comment? Anyone online public comment? Thank you. Given that, without public comment, I would like to close the public hearing, and now we will turn it into deliberation, and I'll seek questions or comments from the council. Councilmember Sullivan, fingers on the button. Anyone have any comments you'd like to make? Since I see no comments, I will move to a vote. Well, I'd like to have, never mind, I would like to have a motion. I can't do that. Councilmember Sullivan.
Yes, I move to approve ordinance 2024-009, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, amending the town liquor code and ordinance 2024-003.
Is there a Councilmember Davis?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Now, hearing none, I'll call for the question. Will the clerk please call the roll for the vote?
Councilmember Davis.
Approve.
Councilmember Kerr.
Approve.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Approve.
Councilmember Vista.
Approve.
Mayor Riley.
Approved.
There are 5 votes to approve.
Thank you very much. The next item is consideration of resolutions. And we're dealing with resolution 2024-61, a resolution of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, approving the subdivision improvements agreement for Ina's Way residence subdivision located at 96 River Run Road. And with that, I'll turn it over to the town manager.
And I will let our Community Development Director, Lindsay,
So I'm going to go into just a bit more detail than I normally would on this topic because you've never seen one. So you're going to contribute this to your continued education credits for land use. So basically what is going on with this project is Enos Way was approved by the county back in September of 22 as a site plan for a fourplex. Subsequent to that approval, they got their appropriate building permits and started building. Well, they're coming near to completion with regards to that fourplex. I've actually been out there on at least 2 different occasions to do an inspection or 2. And they are just about ready to go for their CO. CO is a certificate of occupancy. They're also in the midst of subdividing, breaking the fourplex into 4 different pieces so they convey ownership. And basically what this process does is it's an agreement between town council and the developer to secure funds for any uncompleted work that needs to get done. Because of our climate, because of various other elements, it is a good idea, and your code, our code, basically stipulates the ability for the developer to bond for any improvements that are either not completed or need to be bonded for. In this case, it's landscaping, and the code states that the developer is responsible for that landscaping improvement for a period of up to 2 years. And the idea behind that is make sure after 2 years that it's all living and healthy, so the individual owners or HOA can take it over. So that's really what this agreement is. It's pretty minor in nature. It is administrative, but it is very important. Certainly the dollar amount associated with this one isn't all that isn't that much, but you will see other projects with $1 million plus SIAs. So with that, do you have any questions for staff?
What's an SIA?
Well, in this case, it's a subdivision improvements agreement. It is the title of the agreement that will be executed.
Any other questions? What's the total value of the bond and the cost of the landscaping?
I believe it was 8,300 and change. And I will do an inspection this time next year, and the code allows me to release half of that money if it is all looking pretty good. And then after the period of 2 years, then if it's all healthy, I release it all, or I keep some of it to make sure, to secure that it is living and functional.
So then, am I correct that a site improvement agreement gives us, actually provides about a 2-year warranty on the work that is being covered by the agreement?
In the context of landscaping, yes. There are other improvements that need to be done that 2 year. It's until completed and accepted to the satisfaction of the town. I will convolute this a little bit. What you're doing tonight is a subdivision improvements agreement. There is also a site plan improvements agreement that is similar in nature, but tonight we're solely doing this in conjunction with the plat to break the fourplex into four different pieces, 5. And it is very, the way the code's written is you're supposed to run these subdivision improvements agreements with the plat itself, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Are there any other questions?
I have them.
Councilmember Siston?
I apologize if this is an obvious question. You said that they're in the midst of subdividing the
That's
fourplexes for different ownership. Does that mean there are going to be 4 different HOAs, or will they still be?
No. I'd have to actually look at the plat, but there would be 4 different units. So if it's a townhouse plat, you own what's under the building and that portion of the building, and then the next person owns, same thing, and the remainder would be owned by the HOA.
So the fourplexes are 4 distinct units. There are like
That's
2
correct.
townhomes, and then they're not multiple units in each
No,
fourplex.
yeah, that would be if you're talking this, that's a condominium map. This is not a condominium map.
Okay, I was thinking more of Campfire that has plexes that are like 2 and then 4 and different townhomes connected, but thank you for clarifying.
I'm going to send council a little cheat sheet, if you will, with regards to the different types of subdivisions. I think that would be useful. Now, I will say that these types of subdivisions are more administrative in nature. There's not a public hearing or anything. We're just breaking up the development into different interests.
And
Potential for different interests.
that would then allow them to complete a sale of these units.
Correct.
For occupancy.
That is absolutely true, yes. And that's exactly what is transpiring in the next week or two.
Are there any other questions? With that, can I have a motion? Councilmember Kerr.
I move that we approve Resolution 2024-61, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, approving a subdivision improvements agreement for Inez Way Residences subdivision located at 96 River Run Road.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Councilmember Davis.
Second.
Now it's been moved and seconded. Again, is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, although I don't need to, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Kerr.
Approve.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Approved.
Councilmember Thisted.
Approve.
Councilmember Davis.
Approve.
Mayor Riley.
Approved.
There are 5 votes to approve.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Resolution 2024-62, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, approving an intergovernmental agreement with Summit County regarding liquor code regulation and enforcement at the River Course Grill. Mr. Town Manager?
And I will ask our town clerk, Madeline Seawood, to take this.
All right, good evening, Mayor, members of the Town Council. This is an intergovernmental agreement for a hotel and restaurant liquor license, River Course Grill and its associated optional premises permit. The River Course Grill itself falls within the boundaries of the Town of Keystone, while the golf course falls outside of the boundaries of the Town of Keystone and unincorporated Summit County. Given this, there's some challenges with figuring out the administration and regulation of the liquor code in relation to this. And so the IGA just clarifies what the responsibilities would be between the town and the county in relation to this. And since the primary hotel and restaurant liquor license associated with River Course Grill is within the Town of Keystone, the Town of Keystone would be responsible for enforcement and regulation of the liquor code in both parts of the golf course and the hotel and restaurant premise. So that is the primary purpose of this intergovernmental agreement, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Are there any questions? Councilmember Sullivan?
Is this,
And you're going with it. Over my.
my question is, this is for the river, I'm sorry, is this the ranch? River Road.
River Road Course.
Do we have the same name with the other course?
That's it.
That's all in the town.
So the golf course is in as well as the, okay,
The entire ranch course is in the town.
okay, thanks.
There is, the next one is parallel with this,
I saw that.
and it has to do with Mountain House,
Yeah.
where the liquor license is held in the county, but they have an optional premise sitting out here in the town.
I saw that. Okay, that's all I have.
Are there any other questions? One thing that the town attorney and I discussed is that paragraph 1B of this agreement is not parallel to paragraph 1B in the follow-on agreement for Mountain House. And the town attorney has drafted some language for consideration as an amendment that we could consider later that would allow us to make those, ensure that the authorities are parallel in both agreements. And it basically says that for the river course, that the county retains the ability to enforce all laws and regulations and other than Colorado Liquor Code on the golf course offshore premise that is located in the county's jurisdiction. And then the other one, it gives the town the authority to do the same thing in our jurisdiction. And it was just to keep the authorities parallel because slightly different language. So when we're ready to go into the next phase of a motion, if you would allow me, I'll make the motion and then we can discuss it from there. Is there any other discussion up front before we go forward to questions? Then, in this case, I move to approve resolution 2024-62, a resolution of the Town Council of Town of Keystone, Colorado, approving an intergovernmental agreement with Summit County regarding liquor code regulation and enforcement at the River Course Grill with an amendment to paragraph 1B that provides that the county retains the ability to enforce all laws and regulations other than the Colorado Liquor Code on the golf course optional premises that is located within Summit County's, within the county's jurisdiction. So, is there a second?
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, and again, I'll do a roll call will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Sullivan.
Approved.
Councilmember Thisted. Approved. Councilmember Davis. Approved. Councilmember Kirk.
Approved.
Mayor Riley.
Approved.
There are 5 votes to approve.
All right. The next item on the agenda is a resolution 2024-63, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, approving the intergovernmental agreement with Summit County regarding liquor code regulation and enforcement at Mountain House Lodge. Mr. Town Manager?
Okay, before I pass this on, I would like to point out that now it is apparently part of my job description to go out on the river course and make sure that the liquor card is in compliance. So, thank you. But I will pass this next item on to our town clerk, Marilyn Steele.
All right, Mayor, members of the Town Council, this is a resolution that is similar to the previous one, passing an intergovernmental agreement with Summit County, except for in this situation, Mountain House Lodge holds the hotel and restaurant license and is within unincorporated Summit County, and their optional premise permit associated with that hotel and restaurant license is at the base of the mountain in the town of Keystone. And I know that this is like a little bit more of a nebulous area, so the description of the area is near the base of the mountain between the gondola and River Run is where this optional premise activities area is. And I've heard that there might be some questions about what they use this for. So I did ask the Summit County clerk what times they activated the optional premise in this exact location in the past year, and they have not, but they do have an optional premise permit associated with this. And counter to the agreement with Summit County related to the River Course Grill, this one would have the Summit County be responsible for the regulation and enforcement of the license and the optional premise permit.
Are there any questions?
I'm wrestling, where is the location again? I'm trying to see between the gondola.
can't do it either.
It's just a small mass of land back behind the gondola, between the gondola and River Run.
Pass the names.
I didn't, because I've never seen any liquor.
They call it an activities area. So I would imagine that if they were to activate it, it would be for some sort of special event where they were having liquor at the bottom of the mountain that wasn't at any of the restaurants at River Run.
Okay,
But they have not activated it in the last year.
yeah, because I haven't seen, okay.
Are there any other questions? Again, I would propose you allow me to make the motion to ensure we have that parallel language I was talking about in paragraph 1B. If there's, in that case, I move to approve resolution 2024-63, a resolution of the town council, the town of Keystone, Colorado, approving the intergovernmental agreement with Summit County regarding liquor code regulation enforcement at Mountain House Lodge, with an amendment to paragraph 1B that provides that the town retains the ability to enforce all laws and regulations other than the Colorado liquor code on the optional premises that is located within the town's jurisdiction. And I have a second, Councilmember Davis.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Thisted. Approve. Councilmember Davis.
Approve.
Councilmember Kerr.
Approve.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Approve.
Mayor Riley.
Approved.
There are 5 votes to approve.
Thank you. Are there any pending matters for discussion today, Town Manager?
No planning minutes.
All right. How about a report from the Town Manager staff?
Okay, so as you saw, we have our new staff on board, and to talk to them both about when we ask to give their background, give them a little background so you guys get to know them. Next time we talk, we'll have them talk about themselves too. Maddie's been crushing it with the SDRs. We're close to 500 licenses, I believe. Very few bumps in the road, nothing unexpected. Getting ready for the big management firms to register. Ballot questions have been filed and accepted. Pros and cons statements are due to the town clerk by September 20th. They must be limited to 500 words or less. The town clerk and our attorney get to work over the weekend, sorry guys. And they have to be returned back to the county by around September 23rd for inclusion in the Blue Book. We almost had our first emergency as a town. Excel was cut a high pressure gas line out on Soda Spring Road, but they did, thankfully had a bunch of Excel people there, got the line kept really quickly. I was really impressed by the communication from both the fire department and the sheriff's office about this issue. And if Soda Spring Road was going to be closed long, they were ready to open the back ways out of the ranch. So things went as smoothly as you could for an almost emergency. The Northwest COG EV charge grant that you approved money to help hire a grant writer to write, we got kicked out of. We're more than 5 miles from I-70. I think this would have been very arguable and appealable. However, the deadline for getting this grant in was like approximately right now. And we would have done a real disservice to the Copper, Silverthorne, Dillon, and Frisco if we tried to fight our inclusion into it. So next time there'll be plenty of opportunities.
You want to say they have said that they will not cash our check.
Yes, they've already shredded our check. So, they've already shredded our check. Thank you. Obviously, the resort is slowing down. Oktoberfest was a great weekend. Might have seen me polking with my wife. Our first dance at our wedding was the beer barrel polka. So when they played that, we had to get out and dance. Golf courses will be open as late as possible is the resort's idea, and they're going to still have limited weekend gondola service for a couple more weeks at least. Coming up, we have a bunch of HOA meetings on the 14th, Tenderfoot and Soda Springs. Gretchen, our council member Davis, and I will do Tenderfoot. The mayor will do Soda Springs on a Zoom call. On the 28th, there is a quick silver Zoom call. 24th, and this is a new one, West Hills is having a meeting, and they would like a council member to come out and talk to them. I will not be here.
September 24th?
October.
October.
Sorry, October 24th.
That's a Thursday.
Is that their HOA meeting or is that?
Yes,
What time?
they still haven't set a time, but it'll be evening.
I would go to that.
Okay.
I'm happy to if you need backup.
I love it if you want to join me.
Well, I said that without looking at my calendar, but I think I'm okay.
And then November 16th, we have tennis townhomes. The 17th of this month, we have our Sursa luncheon here at 11:30, Sursa Customer Appreciation Luncheon. And on the 19th, the CML District 15 fall meeting at Fatty's in Breckenridge. That's at 5 p.m. Registration for that closes on the 12th. If you want to go, please.
Can you do that one again?
Yeah, CML, well, Sursa lunch is here on Tuesday the 17th. And Thursday the 19th, the CML District 15 fall meeting. We have the summer meeting in Silverthorne. This one is at Fatty's in Breckenridge on Ridge Street. I will resend out the link again tomorrow for anyone. If you want to register, please pay your own way and then submit a reimbursement to the town. Let me see, over the last couple weeks, Councilmember Kerr and I went to the Transit Advisory Board. Microtransit is going to start most likely just in Dillon Valley and Peak 7 in November, kind of as a test for this year. They will, if it works, be expanding to Keystone in the future. They have some new routes, including the X-Flyer, going from Frisco directly to a basin with stops in Dillon and Keystone. An express route, it will run bi-hourly to start out and then run hourly during the week. And that will work in conjunction with the X-Flyer from Breckenridge to A Basin 2, which takes place in the Swan Mountain Flyer. The RTA, they are still moving forward to form a regional transportation association. They estimate the startup cost to get a lawyer to write up the documents and to run an election on this will be close to $300,000. They plan on taking it to election in 2026. They will be asking us for a contribution to that. They're putting together an RTA advisory committee, and they've asked Councilmember Kerr to help serve on that committee. RTA is kind of different. It'll be its own taxing authority, but its scope can be larger than the summit stage. The scope of RTA is any transportation-related issues. So Highway 6 recreation paths and improvements can fall under the scope of the RTA. That's one of the primary reasons they're looking at it, and it gives us another voice with CDOT, another vote in the IMTPR.
One question. Will the from what as I understand it, the RTA will also, is expanding that, the breadth of its responsibility. It will also include, potentially Fairplay and Leadville?
Potentially Fairplay, Leadville, and Kremlin.
In Kremlin.
But then we'll all.
But that already exists.
But it doesn't exist, the RTA doesn't exist, so they don't.
Right.
Yeah.
So Summit Stage currently serves Fairplay and Leadville. They have reached out to Kremlin to find out if it's interest, and Kremlin is starting to look at whether they want to participate.
Yeah, and that's important. That's important for all of us. And with CBT about our insurance, it's going up 13.5% next year for our health insurance. It's a result of COVID, believe it or not. It's when COVID hit, people put off a lot of elective or not so elective medical procedures. And over the last year or so, people have started to go in and get all that stuff taken care of. And it's driving up health insurance costs across the board. 13.5% actually is CBT shopped a couple other possible quotes, and it's cheaper than what we'd be looking at with several other national carriers. It is what it is, unfortunately. I've been meeting with Dylan over law enforcement, and we'll discuss that at our next meeting. I went to the Summit County Housing Authority, set up a housing task force. We're going to have our planner be our representative on that, Andrew, in the future. But just kind of hashing out some ideas before they bring it up to the board. We were talking about things like lotteries, guidelines for housing selection, and how we can make it more uniform across the various jurisdictions. It'll be a good group. We had mayors, managers, and commissioners the other week. Let's see, the school board talked about their ballot issue they're bringing up. It's a property tax issue, basically rebuild Breckenridge Elementary School, and then improvements to all of the other schools, additions to the high school to bring Snowy Peaks over there, an expansion of their workforce education program. I can't remember the exact name they used. The ballot will cost taxpayers approximately $13 for every $100,000 in value on their house.
Was that $13 per hundred or $13,000, $13 per month for a million?
Well, I think you're correct, $13 per month per million. So actually just over $13 per.
Yeah, about 156.
Yeah, per million.
Per million.
So 13 a month though.
A month.
The sheriff gave a presentation on the SMART team, which is the mental health intervention teams they've set up. Grant funding of approximately $750,000 is going away for that program. They too will be coming to the towns to ask for a contribution to keep these programs going. I will let the sheriff explain why he feels these programs are, and I do too, they work. They're a good program.
It is, so that's the county, the sheriff.
Yes,
So if we did something with Dylan,
And because these smart teams participate in every jurisdiction. And they really have helped a lot with mental. So many of the 911 calls are not really law enforcement as much as mental health issues. And Summit County has we're kind of the glowing example of how to do this right. So just another cost we'll have to consider here. They're looking for fill grants, other issues before they actually do the straight up ask, but could be $750,000 a year from the county and all the communities. And there was a presentation by Summit Economic Development Company who will have come in, I think, and talk sometime here in the future. See, we had a couple of HOA meetings, Wild Irishman, Councilmember Davis and I went to, and although not an HOA, Loveland Pass Village, the mayor, Councilmember Thisted and I went to a caucus reception. Future meetings, we'll have budget, Rapo Basin, Alan is going to come down here and speak to us as soon as our new GM for Keystone gets on. I'll invite her to come and talk to the town council. We're going to have actually representatives from the nicotine abatement programs coming in a meeting or two. We'll see how it works out to talk about. We approved the IGA, but she'll kind of outline this more on where that money is going. It's going to those programs. Have to bring back early childhood options discussion, and next meeting, this is important and I need feedback on this, our council appointment. How right now do we have 3 applications or just the 2?
Just 2 right now.
Just 2 applications. There's reason to believe we'll have at least a 3rd applicant in. How do you want to conduct these interviews, council?
Thoughts?
Do we have a specific day, Sarah?
We earlier agreed it was going to be September 24th, either during the work session or prior, given the work session size, probably prior. Am I interpreting that, Mr. Townsend?
I would think that at least maybe start the work session at, depending on the number of applicants, I think if you started at 3 o'clock.
Or this would have to be an official town meeting versus a work session, so.
Yeah,
It'd be a separate item, because we're making a decision.
How long are we anticipating each interview to last?
well, how would you like to do that? We have 6 council members. Would you like me to come up with questions for you to ask? And like the planning commission or?
Councilmember Davis?
I'm going to suggest that we start the work session early, end it early, then go into these interviews, since we need to act formally. Just a thought. Also, I don't know whether these people work or not, so that might be a little bit more considerate. And yes, your questions for the planning commission were very helpful. I would love. Oh, Lindsay, maybe you'd like to do it. But yeah, it would be helpful, and it would be helpful, I think, to have a set of consistent questions.
So I'm anticipating somewhere around a half an hour per applicant then.
Oh, then maybe we need to start a little earlier. I don't know, but
It might be a little shorter.
I'm trying to remember how long we allowed per applicant for the
I
planning.
think it was more like 40 minutes. It was pretty extensive, but we didn't use it all for each one of them.
I thought it was,
For town manager.
we're talking about, we're talking planning commission. I thought those were about 15, 20 of these.
sounds
My
pretty
recollection
good.
is, I amazed the mayor on IZIP, 20 minutes each, including the turnover time, and we were right on schedule.
Good planning.
I think, honestly though, the planning commission and council, I think you should allocate just a bit more time for that. That would be my suggestion.
So you're potentially allocating 30 minutes?
That's what I would recommend.
And
Including turnover time.
that includes the turnover time. And then afterwards, we would have a vote on the selection of that council, of the new council member, which would probably be another 20 minutes. You think that would be adequate?
Just point of clarification or whatever. Is that executive session or?
No,
No.
that's open meeting.
Is that the straw vote for the vote?
It's not straw vote.
No straw vote, this paper ballots.
Yeah.
And I propose to use the same approach that we did in the case of the planning commission, where we would have an opportunity, if we elected to discuss the candidates, and then we would have an opportunity to vote and follow exactly the way we handled it for the planning commission. Councilmember Thiston.
I just want to clarify that the intent is to actually have a conversation following interviews, because we didn't do that necessarily.
I think that's up to the individual council members whether they want to participate in that.
So it could be crickets and I could be talking to myself.
You could be talking to yourself.
Or,
Clarification, we will then, once the council has made a formal decision, we will then swear that person in prior to the meeting. That's what I remember from our discussion.
Can we have to pick the person at the meeting?
Well, if you want, you could do a special meeting.
Yeah.
And pick the person, and you could swear them in at the special meeting, or you could swear them in at the start of the regular meeting.
But not at the workshop.
No,
That's why I suggested the work session early.
am I correct that the interviews need to be at a special meeting?
We could be at a work
Oh, can
session.
it be at a work session?
Yeah.
All right.
So let me pour over our work session and figure out how early we have to start this. And
You may need to plan breakfast.
yeah, but I'll be in touch the next day or two with some scheduling ideas.
All right. Councilmember Davis.
On another topic, I just wanted to ask our town clerk, is everything, all the logistics of the computer systems working the way you hoped they would? And are they helping you
Meet for SDRs.
for STRs? Sorry, thank you.
Yes, I would say that originally there was a lot of additional work that had to be done to pick a new software provider. And I wasn't sure what the value in that would be right away. But over the last 2 weeks, as we've done this launch, the resources that they've provided us in terms of being able to be responsive to issues on a very immediate basis, and also being flexible in the design of things to accommodate changes as they come up, has been really helpful. And so I think that all of the work that we're doing this time to make things happen and work will create a much smoother process in the future. And all of the feedback we've received externally has been primarily positive, just the normal, confusion with technology that comes or complaints about generally having to get a license. But outside of that, I think it's gone really well. And the biggest problem has just been cleaning up all of the data and making that correct. But after this year, the data will be a lot cleaner and should be smoother moving forward.
Kudos.
That's great to hear, and thank you for the time that you spent doing all of that research.
Councilmember Kerr.
Thanks. I wanted to support Councilmember Davis's idea of moving interviews behind after the work session. I think is thoughtful on behalf of prospective candidates and also on behalf of any member of the public who want to sit in on it. So if John, you can consider that, that would be great. Also, I had two items that follow up to earlier things. When town manager was talking about the microtransit, what we learned is that when they were planning the pilot for the microtransit based on the microtransit study, there was no thought to Keystone other than Keystone's a rural community. We're not worried about them. That's not those exact words, but essentially they assumed it was adequately served. So I have to say that our participation now in the transit board and in the future in the RTA is going to clarify that are people advocating for Keystone, and I can already see that they're paying attention to that. The second not issue. The mayor, the town manager, and I met a couple months ago with the Chamber of Commerce. We mentioned that at the time. So they contacted us a few weeks ago with a plan to schedule a Keystone specific meet and greet for Keystone businesses on September 24th. I mentioned it to the mayor and he suggested that we host and help publicize it. They have not done so as of this afternoon, but this evening they reached out and said, thank you for the offer. We'd like you to take you up on it. But is it too late to get this publicized in the next 2 weeks? And I said I would turn to my fellow council members and staff and ask, what are your thoughts? Should we recommend that they bump it or move ahead with something that has dual purpose? First of all, the chamber wants to pitch membership, but this is an opportunity for us to say, we're also interested in members of the business, whatever we're calling it, business board. So what do you think?
Town manager.
I think it might not be a bad idea to bump it, and not so much for publicity, but we're having a bunch of our local businesses shut down for the mud season and the owners getting out of town right about now. This might be better early November or something like that, just a thought.
That's a good point. Anybody, if nobody has, or are there any other considerations?
Any other thoughts?
So I'll get back to you, Mr. Crone, in the morning, and with the chamber, we can see what's feasible, if everybody agrees to that.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Good.
Okay. Could be an opportunity for us.
Yeah, sure. In fact, I really think it's a great idea to at least engage with the chamber as we go forward. And again, it may be another source of business feedback for us. All right. Any other reports from council? Councilmember Clifton.
I had a conversation with a constituent who asked me about fire mitigation and the fire mitigation plan for Keystone. I know we're part of the conversation related to the evacuation planning, But do we have any intentions of addressing prevention for forest fires as a community? I do realize that most of this is possibly addressed association by association, but given insurance prices going up, evacuation planning, is this something that is a town consideration?
Mr. Town Manager?
I'm gonna let our community development director wait, since he's been meeting with the wildfire council at least once.
Be sure, once. Our land use and development code speaks to, wildfire mitigation. It basically is in the context of rezonings and subdivisions. Now, you do not see a whole lot of those, but that's the way the land use and development code speaks to it. The building code also speaks to it, on an individual lot by lot basis. I believe that part of the, I know this is my fallback, but I believe there will be discussions with regards to the master plan process with regards to this very issue as well. So that's all I really know currently. I think it's going to be work in progress for the town.
And I do, oh, go ahead. Yeah, I do foresee us drafting some sort of wildfire mitigation plan in the relatively near future. And that'll, once again, include a cost to the town of providing wood chipping services, things like that. But it only makes sense. And for every dollar we invest, we can save our homeowners several dollars, if not several hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars.
And I believe also the county's wood chipping program includes all the towns as well, so.
Yes, it does.
It all plays in. I tend to agree with you. I think we need a overall wildfire mitigation plan to address the planning side of it. Has certainly pieces to it. There's other pieces that may be associated with property owners' responsibilities as well. If they present a overall major wildfire hazard. So, all right, any other reports from the council? All right, I'll make mine relatively brief. The manager discussed the mayor manager's breakfast. The Vail Resorts meeting with the GM last Friday was canceled, and we'll be working to get on the new GM's schedule once she arrives on the 16th. The Loveland Pass Village meeting, just to let you know, over 30 members showed up for that meeting. It was as Patty mentioned, it was a outstanding success. A lot of very vocal people, which was very good to hear. And it was very, very positive. And the town manager also mentioned the gas line break over on Soda Ridge Road. It was very interesting to see the coordination with because I had the opportunity to, since I was in close proximity to that break, had the opportunity to accompany the town manager when he visited, and the public works director when they visited the incident commander, and you get to see how the operation was being coordinated. And it was a coordinated effort with the sheriff's office, providing some traffic control. The fire department clearly was the incident commander for that, and was coordinating the immediate actions, and they got Excel out there very quickly. So there may be some minor issues to an after action to deal with the Summit County communication notification system as the messages went out, and making sure the updates go out. But it was very well done by all parties. And that's all I have.
What was the service impact of that break and how quickly was it resolved?
That was one of the issues. They didn't know what the service impact was. The area that they thought was impacted wasn't impacted. Apparently the records weren't terribly accurate. That's one of the reasons why the line was broken. There was not supposed to be a line there, and there was a line back there. And the records didn't reflect how the service was actually being, what was really impacted there. It could have been they hit a peak going into one of the major complexes in there, but it certainly didn't impact the whole wide area. So I think there were, 4 houses that were evacuated as a result of it, and they got them back in very quickly. And there was very low gas volume anywhere. There was very low gas volume accumulating anywhere but right at the brink. And it sounded like a jet engine brink. We're talking very loud. It was high pressure gas. So, any other reports? That other matters? Councilmember Kerr.
I have a question about something that you probably all read in the newspaper. Summit County is looking to authorize looking to enact an ordinance to authorize them to use the new House Bill 23-1287. That means that they can reach out to Airbnbs and VRBOs, identify any listings that are unlicensed, and the Airbnb and VRBO will have to do so. It sounds like putting some real teeth into a management system. So my question, does anybody know, and maybe staff can look at it, can the county represent all the towns in the county with these such actions, or do they just address unincorporated county STRs? Does anybody already know that?
Mr. Town Manager?
So that would be they would just do unincorporated county SDRs. We've looked into this. There's a lot of risk in this. I think, and we can have a discussion about this in a future workshop. But
Sure, the county said that there's lots of due diligence that would be necessary, but put some teeth in the program.
Our teeth are going to be, if we find an unlicensed operation, our teeth should be a big fine that accrues daily if they don't fix their problem. That way we're not actually at risk of shutting down an operating business accidentally that is in compliance. But we can talk about this at a workshop. I think a fine is our better enforcement provision than.
Okay, but let's keep our eye out for all options. Great, thanks.
Right. Any other matters? I lost again.
You're close.
Right now, we completed the items on the agenda. Does anyone object to adjourning, or can I have a motion to adjourn? Councilmember Davis?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.